Hi, I'm Tom Duck from o-health. I'm one of the osteopaths and one of the bike fitters in our team. So today we are doing the first of our interviews with some local legends in the cycling scene. Today I've got Rhys Pollock, who we know well at o-health. He's a ripper guy and a really strong bike rider. And we're going to just have a chat to Rhys today about some of the stuff that he's done on the bike and kind of get to know him a little bit better and share it with you guys. So welcome, Rhys. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure.
Let's start by how about you tell us a little bit about your career and
Okay.
Blow your own trumpet.
Okay. I guess I started off mountain bike racing. Do you think I should look at you or should I look at the camera?
Look at me. Yeah.
Well, I started off BMX racing when I was quite young.
Okay.
Maybe probably 7 I think I was. And then did that on and off for a few years until I think I was about 12 or 13 and I got a mountain bike because my mum wouldn't let me have a motorbike or a go-kart. So I thought, okay,
third best thing.
That'll do. And I just kept going with that for quite a long time, and I raced mountain bikes until I think I was about 21. So I went to 2 world championships for mountain biking. I was the Australian under-23 champion. It was back in the day when there was 2 cycling associations. Well, there was Cycling Australia and then there was MTBA, and they were actually separate.
Yep.
So I actually won sort of both of them, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
But it wasn't quite as recognised as it was today, but it meant that I could go to the World Championships and stuff. So I raced overseas, did a few World Cup races and stuff as mountain biking.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't do very well.
That's okay.
Got spanked badly. But I really enjoyed it, and I think that gave me the taste of wanting to go and do a lot more, or do some more racing overseas. So it was really... I was doing a lot of road riding for training. Yep. And I guess I was starting to do a bit more racing, and I was sort of thinking I was actually preferring it than the mountain biking. And I knew that, it was a bit more opportunities on the road. And sort of looking at doing World Cup races and stuff overseas, you sort of have to pay, it was a lot of money to travel over there and compete and do all the races, if you weren't a high sponsored rider, which I certainly wasn't. So I just, sort of slowly progressed to doing less and less mountain biking. And then when I was doing the mountain bike racing, I was getting kind of slower and slower because I just wasn't riding the bike. And anyway, eventually I just said, I think I'm just going to do more on the road. So I did, and I think when I was 21, I went over to Belgium. Paid my own way and everything like that, and was on just this really small team, which was pretty bad, but look back, it was and even then it was good fun. Yep. We used to have to ride to all the races and a lot of kermesse races in Belgium, and racing a couple of times a week, racing in the rain. Had some pretty interesting stories, and living in a fairly dodgy house, but it was really good. I had such a good time, and really fond memories of that. So I did that for a couple of years, 2 years, and then I went to an amateur team in France for 2 years, and that was good. But I think I preferred it probably more up in Belgium and Holland than I did where I was in France. It was good, but there wasn't as much racing, and you had to travel more. And where in Belgium you could just ride to the races, and it was always 20k or 10k away, it wasn't very far. Yep. And then I spent a couple of years on Marco Polo, which was a continental professional team. And that was really good. Did lots of really good races with that. And then I went to DFL Cycling News, which was a professional continental team. And that was great. With our team captain was Nico Matan, who's quite a well-known Belgian rider. He won Ghent-Wevelgem, and he rode from Mapai and Cofidis and all sorts of big teams. Wow. But unfortunately the team folded after 12 months, so we were all out of contract. So It was very last minute, but luckily I could get a ride back on Marco Polo, which was Trek Marco Polo that year, and that was really good. We did races in America and then in Asia as well, and in Europe, and we got quite a lot of good starts. So that was really good, and I had some good times there. But then after that, I sort of was sort of gearing more to sort of what I was going to do after riding. So I think got in contact with Drapac Porsche at the time, and was pretty keen to see if I could get a ride on their team. And luckily they took me on, which was great, and I rode with them for I think 5 years.
Okay,
and,
wow.
That was really, really great. Had some really awesome times with them and raced all around the place. We spent, I think, 3 months in Europe each year, as well as doing all the Asian races, a lot of the Asian races and Australian races, and it allowed me to work. I was always working full time when I was at home, when I was with that team, but I had probably the best results I've ever had. So
okay.
I think I had a good balance going.
That's great.
Yeah, so, and that's about it really.
Right.
That's a wrap up.
It's a very good summary of your timeline on the bike. So you touched on a couple of good results with Drapac in Australia. What would be some of your most memorable results across your career? So obviously under 23 national mountain bike champion, that's a pretty good place to start.
Yeah.
From there, can you talk us through a couple of your some of the results that are pretty close to your heart?
Yep. I think winning the Melbourne to Warrnambool, that was pretty special.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, I did it. I haven't done the race, some people have done it, 10 or 15 times, but I haven't done it that many times, and maybe 7 or something like that, 7 or 8 times. Still a fair few, but not like some people. But I think it's one of those races that even when you do, and I think the best before that I got it was 6th place, I think maybe. And even when I got that 6th place, I thought winning it was just something I just wouldn't ever be good enough to do.
Yeah. So why was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I never really thought of myself of it as a terribly good rider. I think I just sort of persevered a lot and just suffered a lot.
Okay.
I found I got a lot of fulfillment, I think, out of helping other people. So I guess you never really get a chance to go for it yourself a lot of the times, but working for other people, you do become pretty strong, because you've got to kind of stretch yourself quite a long way in a race or in a tour or something, where as a leader you might, really your role is to just finish that last little bit off in a race. So it's a different kind of fitness, I suppose, in a way. But the year that I did win it, I attacked, I think, with about 60k to go, and I wasn't thinking that it was a winning attack. It was really just to set it up for the other guys in behind, so they could have a free ride. And we went away on the hills, I think just out of Camperdown, and I went over the hill, and I think I won the 200k title by going over the hill first, which I didn't realise at the time, but that was cool. And so we kept going, and 2 guys caught up to me, and we got back onto the sort of the highway bit, and I think it was about 50k to go, and I started cramping, and I really didn't think I was in a very good way. Anyway, the team car came up, and he just said there was I think at that point there was 2 guys in the next in a group of like 6 coming across. So I sort of said, look, I'm cramping, I don't think I can work, and he said, we'll just sit on for a bit and just see how you go. So I think I missed the turns for a couple of K, and it just gave me, had something to eat and stuff, and it gave me enough to recover, and then I could keep going. And I knew the 2 guys that I was with and I was never a very good sprinter, but I knew the 2 guys I was with were pretty terrible sprinters. And I thought, and I knew coming to the finish, like we had enough time away, and I think it was with Mark O'Brien, he actually punctured.
Wow.
With about 10k to go, and I just said to the other guy, so we'll just wait for him. So we just we kept riding, but we didn't ride full gas. And then he caught up to us, and he tried to attack over the hill coming into town, but it wasn't. I felt okay, so I could go with him, and then in the end, I was able to beat him in the sprint. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, and that was probably the biggest win I think I'd ever had. I mean, I've had some other ones, but that was pretty special, I think.
Yeah. It's probably, I mean, arguably Australia's best one-day race. And I know there's a lot of New South Wales riders that will say Grafton to Invernill is the best one, but the Warnie is the longest.
It was pretty long.
Coming out on top of that, very special.
And we had a headwind all day, so I think it was nearly 8 hours or something. So
yeah, wow.
It was a really long day as well. So that was pretty special. But I think when you're surrounded by a really good team, it makes it more special. Because I won a couple of races in Europe. Like I won a Pro Kermesse in Belgium, which was pretty good at the time. And but it was funny because like it was myself and one other guy, and I remember it was my teammate was Leon Van Bon, who's been a really big rider with Rabobank and a few other teams. I think he finished 4th or 5th in Paris-Roubaix once. But so anyway, he was him and I in the break, and it was about, I don't know, 3 or 4K to go, and he said, just go. And so I remember attacking, and I just thinking, oh, what have I just done? I was digging the biggest post holes, and I remember looking back and thinking, oh, they're not coming. But so anyway, it ended up, and I stayed away and I won, and that was pretty cool. But when he got back and he's like, because I don't know what you were doing. You went and then it was like you just stopped. And but luckily they stopped enough to I could go, and then I could go again. But I think, like I went home and I was by myself, and I remember like walking around to the little night shop and getting a couple of beers and sat there and celebrated, and it just doesn't have the same thing.
Same like team bringing together.
No, so there's that, and I won a Stage of the Sun tour. That was also really special. And I had the yellow jersey until the second last day.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. That was probably the other highlight. That was sort of. But I mean, there's been so many good moments, even with other people winning, like Peter McDonald when he won the Nationals when I was on Drapac, and there was a really cool stage. Stu Shaw won a stage down in Bordeaux in a stage race, and I let him out for the win, but it was really good the way we worked. Yeah, that was pretty special too.
So having that teamwork to have that finished off by a teammate and knowing that you're a part of it, it's pretty cool.
It is. Sometimes it almost feels better than the win, because you sort of, I don't know, you can be a bit, step back a bit from it and just enjoy it for someone else. So yeah.
Nice one. Rightio. Moving on. What are your favourite races and why? So
favourite races.
And this is not limited to the races that you have done in your career, like as a spectator, or what's one race that you wish you could have raced on the calendar?
I think. That's a tough one. I've done a few pretty cool races in the Netherlands. There's one called, they're a bit more obscure, but they're cobbled races. It's called Ron van Drenthe, and it's right up in the north of Holland, and you race on these really little cobblestones where you've got to sit right in the middle of, like, the centre of the road, otherwise you just crash basically. And I did that, and I think I finished 13th or something in that. That was a cool race. And the other one is it's in Brittany in France, and it's on I can't even think of the name at the moment. But it's on a lot of it's on gravel roads, and they sort of say it's the Paris-Roubaix of Brittany. And that's a really cool race as well to do. That's a really interesting. Tré-Breuil-Lyon, it's called.
Okay.
Brain fart there.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool race to do. You'll be going along the road next to the ocean or whatever it is, and then the next minute you literally just turn left and you go down like a goat track.
Yeah, wow.
And that was, this was, and they still do that race now, but this was 10 years ago when
gravel wasn't a thing.
Not really. Yeah. It was just like, it was all like, whoa, okay, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think races like Paris-Roubaix and Tour of Flanders, I would have loved to have rode those, and Tour de France, of course. But I'd really love to do one day, if I ever have the ability to do it, would be the Dirty Kansas, which I think they're changing the name, but I really would like to do that race one day. I think that'd be pretty... 320
kilometres of gravel and goat tracks. That would be pretty awesome.
I'm not sure I'll ever have that ability again, but look, I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think, the I guess the older I've gotten, or whatever whatever it might be, the more races I've done, the more those sort of obscure ones are kind of more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I used to love racing at Qinghai Lake in China.
Okay.
Just because it's so different. And you go to a place you've never been to before, and you're seeing a different side of the culture and everything like that. So I quite like those things that are just a bit different. Yeah.
Not the cliche Tour de France, Paris-Roubaix, Flanders. That's pretty cool too.
That'd be great, but I mean, like I did a couple of races in America and stuff, and it was really good fun. It's just different. The culture's different. The people are different. The roads are different.
Yeah, mix it up a bit.
Yeah, mix it up a bit.
Nice.
So things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Is there moving on to, I guess, your favorite race, what's your favorite loops that you have done for training? Any locally or any internationally, anything that you used to love to train on?
I used to like the sort of the Grania loop around here locally. That was always like a bit of a weekly favourite. I'd always tend to do.
Once a week, wow. So moving on from your favourite races, what are some of your favourite training loops that you've done through your career, both locally and overseas, and pretty much anywhere that you've loved to train?
Yeah, I used to locally. I used to like going around Grania. I probably would have done that once a week, I'd say, on average, back when I was racing and a bit fitter. I mean, the riding around here is pretty good. Like, really like going up to Falls Creek, and I climb very well, but it is good training. You always know that you've ridden pretty hard, even if you haven't had to push yourself. But I did enjoy so many. Oh gosh, I've got so many different memories. Like when I was in France, I used to go over to. I lived on the border, so I was in Strasbourg, so I used to go over to Germany because the roads were a bit better over there, and I'd go up into the Black Forest and just go and do these 200k rides, and
that's
pretty
cool.
I look back and I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, I used to go up there, like no helmet on, just a cap, belting down descents at 70, 80 k's an hour. Pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But and then even, so that was really, those rides were really cool. And we used to, like when I was in Belgium, we had some pretty cool loops around Oudenaarde, where we used to live when I was with Drapac. Just around all the cobble climbs and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool to go to those places when there's no one around, and you can just sort of,
ride them at your own pace
and just savor the moment of where you are and what you're doing and the history of the place. And so that was pretty cool. When I was with Marco Polo, we used to ride down to La Redoute, which is the sort of the last climb in Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
Yeah.
Same thing again. Just we could ride from our place down there and do a lap or something, and then we could come back, and it was 160, 170k. So there were some pretty amazing loops in those forests down there that and it's really quite quiet. There's not really many people around, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. That sounds magical. What would be your favourite, like your absolute favourite, if you had to pick?
Favourite loop, favourite ride. In the Ardennes in Belgium is pretty cool because it's it's sort of like rolling. Well, it's quite hilly, but you could just sort of, you follow the rivers, and then you can just turn left, and you just end up, you're in a sort of these pine forests and going up these little climbs, and you get sort of towards the tops, and then there's all these names written on the road because whatever race we go through there, and then there'll be a monument of Eddie Merckx on the top, or it's pretty cool. And then then you just sort of pop out and you come into these little villages, and then you go back out, and then you're back through the forests again, and it's really was quite fun. I mean, the roads aren't that good in terms of, there's a lot of potholes and things like that, but
a lot of history, a lot of cycling culture. Yeah,
and really quiet. Like there really wasn't much. There's not much traffic down there. I think most of the population is in the north, so yeah, it's good fun riding and you know, good training as well.
Yeah.
Stopping at the little bakeries and things like that.
Yeah, that's a very important part of any bike ride. Touching on training there, what do you have any like of your favourite sessions or any advice to anyone that might be trying to pick up a couple of things off Rhys Pollock?
I think it's just about consistency. I think is a big thing that a lot of people just lack.
Yep.
Do you like that, Tom?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like consistency. Yeah.
I think if you can, even if it's just doing, you know, an hour and a half, it's better than nothing, I think.
Yeah.
And having some kind of structure, even if it's, I don't even, sometimes I wonder how important the actual program is. It's just sticking to something.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to like doing a lot of strength endurance stuff, which is a bit sort of old school, but I used to do it up out of the hill out of Yakandanda.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good because it's quite close. Just, you know, sort of big gear efforts, which I don't think I could do anymore. But I mean, that sorts of training was really good. But I think one thing I did learn was that, I mean, I was an incredibly bad sprinter. Like if I got to the finish in a bunch of 6, I would finish sometimes 7th because the bunch would have caught me. But I think just sort of training your weaknesses too, and not just focusing on your strengths. So I did do a lot more just sort of sprint training once a week, just simple 5 sprints, you know, 10 seconds long with a couple of minutes in between, and then maybe some standing start sprints in a bigger gear. Really simple stuff, but how much I progressed was quite good, and it meant that I could win things like the Melbourne Warrnambool and
Stage of the Herald Sun Tour.
Yeah, because I wasn't quite as rubbish as I used to be at it.
Yeah,
and I could, you know,
get
by, and as long as there wasn't a really fast sprinter there. So, look, I think just work on your weaknesses as well as your strengths. I think is probably a good thing to do. Yeah,
that means for me getting consistency and and not eating too much at the cafe probably.
I know, me too.
What was your favourite cafe stop? Like, what's your favourite cafe stop order to get?
I think a coffee scroll.
Yeah.
If I was riding, that was just what we did. I don't know why. It just so that was a pretty standard thing to do. The old coffee scroll.
Yep.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, fair enough.
Keeps you going.
Yep. Is it better in Europe or?
Well, they don't really have coffee scrolls over there.
Right.
So it was really just depending on where you were, you just sort of had to adapt.
Yep. Overcome the difficult.
That's right. It was tough, but I got through it.
Yep. Nice. That's good to know that you could still manage to overcome the.
It was tough, but I got there in the end.
Rightio. And what do you enjoy doing away from cycling? Because obviously you're a human being as well. So you touched on it when you were at Drapac. So you were thinking about life beyond cycling.
Yep.
Why was that so important to you, and what has that enabled you to do?
Well, I think in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, I realised that, you know, I wasn't going to be a World Tour pro. I mean, I tried, but I just wasn't quite good enough to get there, onto a team, that is. So I think I was always thinking of what else I could do. So I started to do a little bit of study in drafting, building design and drafting. I did that prior to going overseas the first time, and then I sort of picked it up when I was, I think when I was with DFL, I started doing it by distance, and I quite enjoyed it. I knew that for me personally, I couldn't just sort of stop cycling and then just go and work in a cafe or just have a job without something that I really enjoyed to do. I think that's probably what it was, is that I remember saying what someone said to me once. It was actually Andrew Jones, who's a racing car driver, and he said, we've kind of ruined ourselves because we've spent so many years doing what you love to do. It's then very difficult to then just go and work a job. It's like this sucks. You know?
Yeah.
So I sort of
thought that being a working person is that bad.
No, it's not. But I think when you've sort of just been done your own thing for so long and done what you really love, and and that's what you've always wanted to do, it's difficult then to sort of
it's like going
from
playing computer games to then going and doing the dishes.
It sucks. No one wants to do it. So
fair enough.